Little Bighorn's Deadly Aftermath. McKenzie's Revenge 1876. Welcome to Native Legends and History Stories, where we uncover the untold stories of America's indigenous peoples. Subscribe to journey with us through time and witness history through their eyes. The sacred pipe's ashes fell silently onto General Custer's polished boots. Each gray flake carried the weight of a solemn promise, made in 1868 on the banks of Oklahoma's Washita River. Stone forehead, the Cheyenne chief performed this ancient ritual. Beneath 12 sacred arrows, their most hallowed symbols. Hanging overhead, Custer's words still echoed, "We will never fight the Cheyenne again." 8 years later, on June 25, 1876, those same boots lay motionless on Montana's Little Bighorn Ridge. Two Cheyenne women approached the body, recognition flickering in their eyes. They remembered that day by the Ochita, remembered the promise now. They carried long steel awls in their hands, tools usually reserved for stitching buffalo hide. The broken promise would be answered. This was just one story among thousands that unfolded during those two fateful hours. Along the winding Little Bighorn River, 7,000 to 10,000 Native Americans had gathered, their men, women and children, from the 7 council fires of the Lakota Sioux and their Cheyenne allies. Many had come from the government's newly established reservations, their military traditions still strong despite confinement. The camp was organized with tactical precision. Teepees formed defensive rings, each with clear escape routes and fighting positions. Sentries maintained constant watch from elevated positions, using an intricate system of signals mounted. Scouts patrolled in expanding circles, up to 5 miles out, their horses' hooves wrapped in soft hide to move silently. Mirror flashes by day and flame patterns by night carried messages across vast distances in seconds. The summer morning started peacefully. Warriors maintained their weapons while discussing strategy, checking bowstrings for wear, sharpening lance points, and adjusting the balance of their war clubs. Each weapon was blessed and purified according to ancient customs. Shield covers were removed and repainted with power symbols. Medicine bundles were opened and their contents renewed. Every warrior knew his role and position should attack. At midday, the first warning arrived. 6 women gathering wild turnips 2 miles from camp raced back on horseback, one clutching a bleeding arm where a bullet had grazed her. Their urgent cries triggered immediate action. By 3 p.m., scouts reported 15 warriors, allies of the U.S. Army, near the Humpa camp. The crack of rifle fire shattered the peace. The response followed. Battle plans rehearsed since childhood. Warriors grabbed weapons, while women and children scattered inland along predetermined escape routes. Young men secured the horse herds, vital for both escape and combat. As bullets peppered the camp, warriors emerged from multiple directions, using the rolling terrain for cover. Their first wave forced the U.S. soldiers back to the tree line along the river. The warriors advanced in coordinated groups. Some moved openly as decoys, drawing enemy fire, while others crawled through the grass to closer positions. Arrows arched high over the trees, forcing soldiers to huddle behind their limited cover. Warriors with captured army rifles provided precise fire from elevated positions, preventing any attempted counterattack. It was then that Crazy Horse emerged from the river, water streaming from his bare skin. While other warriors rushed straight into battle, the legendary Oglala chief knew preparation was crucial. He called for his medicine man, the Vikas Awaken, while droplets still glistened on his shoulders. The ritual was swift but purposeful. Sacred colors streaked across Crazy Horse's chest and face, each pattern invoking specific spiritual powers. River grass woven into his hair connected him to the earth's strength. Dirt scattered across his horse's flanks bound beast and rider as one. Medicine pouches tied to the bridle ensured the horse's courage would match his own. His war club, marked with notches from previous victories, felt alive in his grip as his most trusted warriors assembled behind him. The U.S. soldiers were now trapped against the river's western bank. Warriors had encircled them on 3 sides, combining traditional weapons with captured army rifles. More warriors held elevated positions on nearby ridges, ready to cut off escape routes. When Crazy Horse arrived, the war cry Hakahi thundered across the battlefield. The soldiers' formation began to crack, Crazy Horse demonstrated why he was legendary. He charged directly at the army's firing line, so close they could count the grass braids in his hair. This brave run drew their fire, while his warriors struck from the flanks. Warriors with long spears attacked from the left. Specialized weapons designed to dismount. Cavalry war club squadrons struck from the right. Their weapons equally effective against mounted or dismounted soldiers. As the soldiers retreated across the river, Crazy Horse coordinated the pursuit. Warriors maintained perfect formation, each rider positioned to support his neighbors while presenting the smallest possible target. They crossed the river in waves, some providing covering fire while others advanced. Traditional battle songs carried signals and commands across the chaos. Years of cavalry experience showed in their tactics. Some warriors rode low along their horses' sides, firing arrows from beneath their mounts' necks. Others used their horses as mobile barriers, coordinating their movements to protect warriors armed with captured rifles. Small groups peeled off to circle wider, cutting off potential escape routes and herding the soldiers toward prepared killing grounds. The soldiers, their boots heavy with river water, struggled up the eastern ridge as war cries echoed behind them. Warriors had already occupied the high ground, their arrows and bullets raining down from multiple directions. Crazy Horse's voice carried over the din. Here are the soldiers after us again. Do your best today we end their troubling of our people. The pursuit was relentless but controlled. Warriors maintained discipline, avoiding the disorder that had defeated them in previous battles. They advanced in coordinated layers, mounted warriors pressing the attack, while others maintained distance to prevent any organized counterattack. Medicine men moved with the warriors, treating wounds and renewing spiritual protections. Even as the battle raged, Thunderbear's voice grew tense. As he recounted the pursuit, "We rode among them like hunting buffalo, but these were not buffalo." Each warrior knew this was the day of reckoning. The surviving soldiers scrambled up the steep slopes of Reno Hill, their boots sliding on loose shale. Some dropped their rifles to climb faster. Others used their bayonets as makeshift handholds. In the rocky ground, Captain Reno's position offered temporary sanctuary, a natural fortress with clear fields of fire in all directions. The U.S. Army's defensive formation took shape quickly. 200 men arranged themselves in a rough circle, using their saddles as barricades. Sharpshooters positioned themselves behind rock outcroppings, their rifle barrels tracking movement in the valleys below. Officers shouted commands, trying to restore order among their rattled troops. The soldiers dug shallow trenches with their tin cups and plate, scraping desperately at the hard Montana soil. But Crazy Horse had anticipated this move. While some warriors maintained pressure from the front, 300 others split into two groups, circling wide through hidden ravines to the north and south. The maneuver was executed in complete silence, horses' hooves wrapped in buckskin. Warriors communicating through hand signals, perfected over years of buffalo hunting. The first sign of the encirclement came when war erupted simultaneously from 3 directions. Warriors appeared on ridge lines all around, silhouetted against the afternoon sky. Their rifles, many captured from previous battles, opened fire from elevated positions. Others launched arrows in high arcs, forcing soldiers to huddle behind their inadequate cover. The Battle of Little Bighorn was more than just another fight. The law of blood revenge, sacred to both Sioux and Cheyenne, demanded payment for generations of broken treaties and stolen lives. Each warrior carried memories of specific wrongs. Villages burned in winter, women and children killed, sacred grounds desecrated. Now on these grassy hills, the debt would be collected. Crazy Horse led a series of coordinated attacks. Groups of 30 warriors would charge forward, firing from horseback, then wheel away to reload while another group charged. The tactic prevented soldiers from focusing their fire while steadily depleting their ammunition. Other warriors crept through the grass on foot, so close they could hear the officers' desperate commands. The soldiers' defense began to crumble under the relentless pressure. Their water carriers trying to reach the river below were picked off one by one. The Montana sun beat down mercilessly as ammunition ran low. Wounded men crowded behind the inadequate barricades, their groans mixing with the continuous crack of rifle fire. The final assault came as the sun began to set. Crazy Horse assembled 500 warriors for one massive charge. Medicine men chanted victory songs, their voices carrying across the battlefield. Warriors painted their faces with lightning bolts for speed and bear claws for strength. Their horses were similarly decorated, symbols of power, drawn in white clay across their flanks. The charge began from 4 directions simultaneously. Warriors bent low over their horse necks, some firing rifles, others swinging war clubs and lances. The air filled with arrows not just aimed at soldiers, but arcing high to rain down. Within their defenses, the soldiers' volleys, already weakened by dwindling ammunition, couldn't stem the tide. Combat became hand-to-hand as warriors breached the defensive circle. War clubs crushed skulls and rifle butts. Lances designed for buffalo hunting proved equally lethal against men. Soldiers fought desperately with bayonets and even bare hands, but they were overwhelmed by warriors who had trained for battle since childhood. The aftermath revealed the depth of Native American vengeance. Following their spiritual beliefs about the afterlife, warriors ensured their enemies' spirits would carry the marks of defeat. Bodies were systematically mutilated, ears pierced with sewing awls, hands and feet removed, eyes pierced so spirits would wander blind. Each warrior carried out these rituals according to their tribe's specific traditions. On Custer Hill and nearby Calhoun Hill, the dead lay in concentric circles, evidence of their final defensive formations. Officers were found in the center, surrounded by their men. Some bodies showed signs of suicide. Rather than face capture, ammunition boxes were empty. Rifles bent and broken from desperate hand-to-hand fighting. The carnage reflected years of accumulated trauma. Each cut and mutilation represented a specific grievance. A broken treaty, a stolen hunting ground, a massacred village. The warriors' actions, while brutal, followed precise spiritual protocols. They believed each mark would transfer to the spirit world, ensuring their enemies would remember their crimes in the afterlife. Soldiers were found clutching personal items, letters, photographs, good luck charms. These were collected and burned, ensuring the spirits would have nothing to comfort them. Some warriors took uniform, buttons, and insignia as proof of their deeds, while others deliberately left them, considering them marks of shame. The battlefield became a testament to both military tactics and spiritual warfare. Bodies on the ridge showed how the soldiers' organized resistance had broken down into individual last stands. Shell casings told the story of their desperate defense. Clusters near rocky outcroppings, where men had fought until their ammunition ran out. Scattered patterns where others had fired while running. Warriors performed victory ceremonies among the dead, their songs both celebrating triumph and mourning the cost of war. Medicine men moved through the battlefield, gathering soil from where brave warriors had fallen. This earth would be preserved in sacred bundles, used to strengthen future generations. Other warriors counted coup on the dead, touching them with special staffs to claim honor without taking trophies. The victory was complete, but came with heavy awareness of its price. Every warrior knew this success would bring severe retaliation. Even as they celebrated, scouts were already watching for the army columns that would surely come. This was not just a military victory, but a spiritual fulfillment, a balancing of ancient scales of justice through the law of blood revenge. As night fell over Little Bighorn, the warriors began withdrawing. They carried their dead and wounded with reverence, ensuring no one would be left for enemies to disrespect. The battlefield was cleansed with sage smoke and blessed by medicine men, transforming it from a place of death into sacred ground. The warriors had upheld their ancient laws and avenged their people, but they knew this victory would be short-lived against the endless waves of soldiers that would follow. Word of Little Bighorn reached white settlements as Independence Day celebrations began. Newspapers printed bold headlines announcing Custer's defeat. The public's reaction was swift and severe. Citizens demanded immediate action, their outrage fueled by stories of mutilated bodies and battlefield horrors. Custer's reputation as a Civil War hero transformed him into a martyr in the public's eyes. The U.S. military response materialized in General Randall McKenzie, a hardened commander with years of experience fighting the Comanche and Kiowa in Texas. His troops moved with mechanical precision, Tracking Native American movements through the Northern Territories, scout reports and intercepted messages led them to a large Cheyenne village along Wyoming's Powder River. Chief Dullknife's people had settled into their winter camp when McKenzie's forces struck. The attack came at dawn, when the morning frost still covered the ground. Soldiers surrounded the village in silence, positioning artillery on the overlooking ridges. The first cannon shots shattered the pre-dawn quiet, sending burning shells into the clustered teepees. The village erupted in chaos. Women grabbed children and essential supplies, running toward predetermined escape routes. Warriors rushed to defensive positions, but McKenzie's men had blocked every exit. Rifle fire cut down anyone who tried to flee. The soldiers' orders were clear: no prisoners, no mercy. Soldiers moved through the village in organized lines, burning every teepee, destroying food stores, and shooting horses. Winter supplies carefully gathered over months. Burned in massive bonfires, medicine bundles and sacred objects were thrown into the flames. The smoke carried the acrid smell of burning buffalo robes and human flesh. Those who survived the initial attack faced an even grimmer fate. The harsh Wyoming winter showed no mercy to people without shelter or food. Survivors staggered through deep snow, many dying from exposure and starvation. In the following weeks, McKenzie's forces had achieved their goal, breaking not just the people's resistance, but their ability to survive. The message was clear: Little Bighorn would be avenged tenfold. The U.S. military launched similar campaigns across the northern plains. Villages were burned, horse herds slaughtered, and food stores destroyed. The strategy targeted not just warriors, but the entire support structure of Native American life. Crazy Horse watched his people suffering through the winter of 1876. The proud chief who had led the charge at Little Bighorn now faced an impossible choice. On May 6, 1877, he rode into Fort Robinson, Nebraska with several hundred followers. His words that day spoke of peace and reconciliation, but the fire still burned in his eyes. The surrender terms promised food, shelter, and fair treatment. Instead, Crazy Horse found himself under constant surveillance. Military authorities watched his every move, suspicious of his influence over the young warriors. Rumors spread that he was planning an escape, possibly even an attack on a U.S. general. For months after his surrender, guards approached Crazy Horse's quarters with arrest orders. The situation quickly spiraled into violence. In the confusion, a bayonet pierced the legendary chief's abdomen. He died later that night, his last words speaking of his people's future. The battle over the Black Hills continued in different forms. The 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty had guaranteed Sioux ownership in perpetuity, but the discovery of gold changed everything. Miners flooded the region, backed by U.S. military might. The government's solution was simple: force the Sioux onto smaller reservations,